Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is the city where I live. It is a beautiful place. It is the city of Atlanta, as many of you know. I've lived here. This year in July will be 28 years. And so I've spent more time here in my lifetime than I have anywhere else. But if you ask me where I'm from, I won't say I'm from Atlanta. But people here say, oh, you from here? No, I'm not from here. I'm from Florence, South Carolina. That's where I'm from. That's where I went to school. That's where I grew up. That's when I went to, elementary school, middle school, and high school. College, went to the, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube, South Carolina State University, as I wear my School of Business. Shout out to Belcher Hall, my School of Business hoodie. But anyway, I wanted to talk about old Atlanta, because Atlanta right now, or for the better part of the last, 10, 15, 20 years, has been a different place. And I've watched the city grow. I've grown with the city. And there was a point in time in my life where I really, really was outside in Atlanta. Now I'm inside. You won't even catch me outside in Atlanta. I go out, but I don't go out to like clubs or anything like that. Like, I'm 52 years old, man. What club am I going to? I can't even remember the last time I've gone to a lounge just to chill and listen to music. But there was a point in time, both when I was single and when I first got married in 2000, where, the club scene was everything. And I talked about it on a previous episode called You Can Find Me in the Club. That one was a funny episode because I shared a couple of hilarious stories. But one of the things that I didn't really talk about in that particular episode was that in your clubbing days, right? And it doesn't matter where you're from or where you live. In your clubbing days, if you're like me, every club has a story. Like, every time you've been somewhere, it's a story that goes along with it. And it's funny, I came to this idea for this particular episode because in one of my group chats, we were talking and my homeboy Mace, shout out to Mace, man. Mace he's like the oldest guy in the group chat. I don't know how old Mace is. I think Mace is like 50. Mace might be 65 years old, right? But like everything that Mace says and stuff, when you talk about history and stuff, like Mace has done it. So he mentioned something about, and because I think Mace is from, is Mace from Queens? I think Mace is from Queens, I think. And I've been friends with Mace so long, I can't remember where Mace is from. But nonetheless, Mace, he was talking about something that happened in New York City, and he talked about the LQ, which if you're familiar with hip hop, the LQ is the Latin Quarters. It was a huge club back in the early to mid to late 80s that was very popular. And I always say, like, there's a historical aspect to the Latin Quarter, especially when it comes to hip hop. And so we were having this conversation about old clubs, and Mace mentioned the Latin Quarter, and I was like, "You been to the Latin Quarter?" And then so we all like started throwing these old jokes, like, "Yeah, Mace was there when they opened up the Latin Quarter," like that. But it was interesting to hear him have his stories about the famous LQ, and it got me to thinking. And we started talking about some clubs, here in Atlanta. And it was interesting because like almost every club that I mentioned, Mace had been to. And Mace even mentioned a couple of clubs here because he had been in Atlanta. I think Mace has been in Atlanta since like 85. So Mace has been here and seen more than all of us. And like I said, I think Mace is 72 years old, but he's a great guy, man. Love Mace. But it got me to thinking about doing this particular episode. And so if you are of the age, and some of you who listen and watch this episode, you're still in the club phase. So you're still, outside on the weekends, in the club hanging and having a good time. That time for me was cool. It was great. I had a great run. I tell people all the time, like, I had a great run, but that club run is way over. Like, but I will share with you, even though unless you're from or at least have been to Atlanta, some of these places may sound, they may not be familiar to you, but there's a story again with every single club. And then there's some clubs like Club 112. If you don't even have to have been to Atlanta, but everybody's heard of Club 112 if you're of a certain age. I mean, hell, 112 was shouted out in a lot of songs. So there's a story there as well. So what I want to do is give you guys a couple of stories about a couple of clubs, and take a commercial break, and then give you a few more before we get out of here. The first club, and these are in no particular order. The first club that I'm going to talk about is the World Bar. The World Bar was located in Buckhead. Now, Buckhead, I could do a whole nother episode on Buckhead. Buckhead is a section of Atlanta that used to be known as the Party District. It was like where it was almost, there was a particular time in the late 90s, early 2000s, where Buckhead was like a miniature Freaknik every weekend. Like, it was crazy. Buckhead was off the chain. Buckhead is now, I mean, it's always known for its shopping districts and Lenox Mall and Phipps Plaza, very high end area, whatever like that. People, if you live in Buckhead, people would assume that you had money because most people that lived in Buckhead or that live in Buckhead got some money. But the World Bar was in the middle of that party district. The World Bar was my memory from the World Bar was that the World Bar was the first, at least from what I can remember, the first club that identified itself on a particular night as a hip hop night. And it was interesting because I don't think the World Bar every other night had hip hop. Like, they had, like, you might have, I don't know, rock or whatever, where they play rock music, or they might play, I don't necessarily remember the World Bar playing any jazz music, but they played different genres, country, whatever the case was. But the World Bar was the first club that I can remember that says, okay, tonight is hip hop night. And for us in the city, that meant black. So that was the night that the black people could come to the World Bar. Not that they couldn't come any other night, but you weren't going to hear nothing but hip hop that particular night at the World Bar. And that was interesting because I think that was one of the first things that really started a divide in Buckhead. And Buckhead is no longer a party district. I mean, Buckhead, quote unquote, died the party district probably about 10 years ago. They moved all the bars out. I mean, like, it literally was like a party district. So it's almost like, like Bourbon Street or what have you, where you would just have blocks and blocks and blocks. It's just bars and clubs, like all together. There was no, this particular part of Buckhead, there were no, I mean, there was a couple of businesses over there. There used to be an ESPN zone. But it was just, a concentrated area of bars. But yeah, the World Bar, that was the memory I had. We went there a couple of times for hip hop night, and they had good DJs, and I remember that was pretty cool. The next club, the Crow's Nest. The Crow's Nest. If I'm not mistaken, the Crow's Nest, I know it's in College Park. I think it's on Old National. The Crow's Nest was interesting to me because I've been to the Crow's Nest 3 times, right? And in the 3 times that I've been to the Crow's Nest, I literally was the youngest person there. And I'm talking about, I could have been like maybe 35, 36, if that. It was what we call a old head club. Like, it was for the old school juke joint type places. The music was good. They always had a live band, and that's the reason why I went to the Crow's Nest, because my cousin Mike, my big cousin, he always played in a band, and he lives in Birmingham. And anytime his band would come over, they play at the Crow's Nest, and so I would come, go see him or whatever, like that, go see him perform. So I went like 3 times, but I never went to the Crow's Nest when Mike wasn't playing. So the Crow's Nest, like I said, it was. You would see literally people 40, 50, 60, some in their 70s in their partying. There was no type of hip hop or nothing like that. You was going to get some Earth, Wind and Fire. You were some Commodores. You were going to get, you could hear disco at the Crow's Nest. You were never going to hear the type of music that I listened to. The next club, it was actually a bar/club, the Shark Bar. Another place that was shouted out in hip hop songs. My memory from the Shark Bar. Listen, you're probably not going to believe this. I don't care if you don't believe this, but this particular night, because we used to go to Shark Bar every Friday night. Shark Bar was right there on Peachtree Street, middle of downtown. It's on like the corner of Peachtree and I can't remember that other cross street, but you know what I mean. It's right. Well, it's no longer there, but it used to be where right before they built that hospital over there. But anyway, I go to the Shark Bar and I'm chilling, and I got I had a drink. I did have a drink. It was a Heineken. Heinekens are so nasty. I don't even know why I was drinking Heineken, but anyway, so I'm drinking Heineken, and the twins from Jagged Edge came in. Not the rap group, the singing group Jagged Edge, who they're from Atlanta, and that at that particular time, one of the twins was dating a young actress by the name of Megan Good, and so they had a table off in the cut. And I was at a table. Well, first I was at the bar, and then I waited for my friends to come, and then I was at a table. And it was just like me and 2 of my homeboys. And then my homeboys got up and left. They were on the dance floor or whatever like that. And so for the next hour or so, Megan, the twins kept getting up, and they were going to get drinks and stuff, walking around talking to people or whatever like that. It wasn't like a VIP section. And Megan Good was a young actress at the time. We knew who she was, but she wasn't like where she is now. But that hour, Megan Good was staring at me the entire time. I'm not lying. I was, and where I was sitting, there was nobody else around. There was like a wall and then the door to go outside. She literally was staring at me. Like every time I looked away, and then one time I looked at her and she smiled, and I smiled back, and then I looked the other way. Every time I looked up, Megan Good was staring. You don't have to believe me. It's Shark Bar legend. Of course, I'm not going to go over there and try to talk to Megan Good, because even though I knew who she was and she didn't know me from a can of paint, that's still that man's girl. I'm not on that kind of time. But Megan Good was checking your boy out. There's no doubt about it. I'm not making this up. I was not drunk. Megan Good was checking out old 12K. Let's see what else. Masquerade. Club Masquerade was one of my favorite memories from Club Masquerade, because it was the first club that I went to when I moved here. The first week we got here, it was me and my boy Jay Fresh. We moved together from South Carolina to Atlanta. We had a townhouse in Marietta, which is a northern suburb of the city. And he had heard about Masquerade, and he said that he's like, yo, man, we need to go to this club tonight. And we had only been in the city. We'd only been here less than a week. And I was like, all right, bet, let's go. And so he tells me we're going to this club. He said, let's go to this club because it's Latin night. And I was like, well, what is Latin night? Like, because listen, I went to South Carolina State University, and it's a historically black college located in Orangeburg, South Carolina. There were no Latin nights in South Carolina State when we had parties. So we go to the Latin night, and Jay Fresh and I are literally and figuratively the only black faces in the club. The only ones. There are no black faces. But yeah, that's one of my favorite memories. Masquerade was always a good time. Always a good time. Got a chance to see the foreign exchange there. Went to a couple of parties there. Masquerade was it. It was live. Club Bulldogs. Club Bulldogs was interesting because it was a club that it's in Midtown, in the heart on Peachtree Street, in the heart of the Midtown. And we didn't know about it, right? So me and Jay Fresh, again, we're new to the city. We're young, single, got a pocket full of money. We're driving, we're just riding around trying to look for something to get into. And and so we see a line. And so I was like, yo, there's a club right there. And he was like, yo, okay. So we spun the car around, we parked up, and we started walking up to the club. And so the club had two lines, right? And so you could see a line. There was a line this, and this was pretty typical for clubs. There was a line going this way and a line going that way. So a line to the left and a line to the right. So we got in the line to the right. And, I noticed that in our line, it was just dudes, which was cool. I've been to clubs where they would have ladies in one line, dudes in another line. Didn't think nothing of it. Me and Jay Fresh, we chopping it up. We walking and we were getting, we're standing in line. We're getting closer and closer to the door. And so as we get to the front of the club, the bouncer pats us down or what have you. And by this time, I can look over to my left and I don't see in the ladies line, there are no ladies. And I was like, man, that's weird. Like, why do you have two lines with, and these lines were long. So I'm trying to figure out why do you have two lines with just guys and like there are no ladies? And so we're getting ready to walk in. So I get patted down, Jay Fresh gets patted down, and then there's like a little hallway before you can go into the club, but you can actually see into the club, and then it was the door that kept opening to the club. And we were in the little hallway getting ready to pay our money to get in, and then the door flies open, and this guy, he walks out, and he's you could tell like he's gay, and he had his hair like wrapped up. He had a t-shirt, and he had a shirt tied around his waist, and he was like he was wearing a t-shirt like it was a halter top, like it was cut off, and he was saying something loud or whatever like that. He was mad, and he was as people would say, doing the most. And so it was at that moment when he walked out and you could actually see in the club, all I saw was men. And I looked at Jay Fresh, and Jay Fresh looked at me. And it was at that moment that we realized that Club Bulldogs was a gay club. And listen, we're not homophobic. We're not anything. But the thing that we aren't is gay. So Jay Fresh and I slowly turned and looked at each other, and the light bulb, I could see the light bulb over his head. He could see the light bulb over my head. And we proceeded to get out of line and calmly walk back to his car. Because there was no need for us to go to Club Bulldogs, man. Let's see what else. Atlanta Live Atlanta Live was a huge club. It was very, very popular, especially when I moved here in the summer of 97. My favorite memory I went to Atlanta Live twice. Atlanta Live just like, it was on some baller shit. Like it was on some baller shit before like it was cool to be on some baller shit. And I just remember I was at the bar and I wasn't even, there was a very beautiful young lady standing right next to me. I was trying to get a drink, right? She was trying to get a drink too. And so this guy walks up and I watched the whole thing play out, right? This guy walks up and he was like, he didn't say anything to her, but he purposely put his keys down on the table of the bar so she could see his keys. And he laid his keys out perfectly so, the keys would be on display. And the one thing that stood out was the big emblem that was on his keychain, which was a Mercedes emblem. So he clearly wanted her to know that he was driving a Mercedes. And he was like, what you want to drink, sweetheart? Like that. And when he did that, and I looked at her and she was like, she was telling him what she wanted to drink or whatever. I was like, oh, this club, these dudes here on that kind of time, nah, this ain't my spot. I'm because at that time, young 12 Kyle had a couple of dollars. I didn't have money like that to be, and I was single at the time, so it wasn't like, I wasn't there to try to meet somebody, but it was just like, nah, I'm not doing this. This ain't my spot. I think one of the key things about this city is that you learn pretty quickly where you fit in. And I didn't fit into the highfalutin bourgeois Negroes club. That wasn't me. I've never been that type. Even though I did an episode on about being bougie, that ain't me. So I that was my stint at Atlanta Live. Right now, we're going to take a commercial break. On the other side of the break, I'll tell you a couple of stories about a couple more clubs. Sit tight. We'll be back in just a second. Are you feeling nostalgic for the golden eras of rap and soul music? If so, tune in to the Rap Soul Podcast. We are your weekly journey through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, spotlighting the music and the hidden gems that shaped the soundtrack of our lives. From the powerful beats to the soulful melodies, we bring you the best of the past with fresh insights and stories. Rediscover the music that defined a generation. Subscribe to the Rap Soul Podcast and enjoy the vibes. If you want a podcast where culture, conversation, and life collide, where you get insightful commentary, engaging discussions, and a fresh perspective on everything, then you need to listen to the 12 Kyle podcast. Hosted by the one and only, yours truly, 12 Kyle, a voice that you know and trust. This podcast will bring you thought-provoking moments, compelling stories, and a whole lot of fun. Whether you're a first-time listener or just tuning in, each episode promises to be something new and exciting. So sit back, relax, join 12 Kyle, myself, and my guests as we break down the world around us and give you stories that you've never heard before, from nostalgic throwbacks to everything in between. The 12 Kyle podcast is a front row seat to this conversation. Subscribe now and never miss an episode of the 12 Kyle podcast, where the vibe is always real and the discussion is always worth your time. And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy 12 Kyle. This is the 12 Kyle podcast, talking about old Atlanta, the club scene in Atlanta, or what it used to be in old Atlanta. I don't know nothing about this new Atlanta. I mentioned earlier that I did an episode called You Can Find Me in the Club. And in that episode, I did tell a story about Club Esso. Club Esso was probably one of my, of all the clubs on here, Club Esso might be number one. As far as going and having a good time, the music, it was 3 floors, located on Cortlandt Street. Well, at least what it used to be on Cortlandt Street. It's no longer there anymore. I think they moved Club Esso someplace else, but it ain't the same Esso. I mean, even when they moved it, it could never duplicate what happened on Cortlandt Street. But one of my favorite memories is I was upstairs. I think I was on like, cause like they had 3 different levels. So like, on the bottom level, it was like they were playing reggae, and on the middle level they were playing hip hop, and then I think like on the top level they were playing like, I don't know, trap music. I don't know. Let's just say they were playing techno, let's say they're playing house music. And so my boy Jay Fresh is with me. Jay Fresh, he had a long day. He had a couple of drinks, and so he found these seats, like that were kind of roped off. I won't say it was a VIP seats, but he found his seats or whatever. So he just sat down. He was tired. He's like, man, I'm tired. And so I was like, I went back upstairs. I'm dancing or whatever like that. I told him I'd come back and check on him. So I came back to check on him. And when I came back downstairs, before I could get to where he was sitting, all I saw was like 5 of the most beautiful women that were in the club that night. And he's sitting in the middle of them. It's like 3 on one side, 2 on the other side. He's in the middle. And from a distance, it looks very pimpish. So I'm like, damn, Fresh then came up. I'm like, oh snap, man, it's about to be on tonight. I walk over, this dude is asleep. And they were like, oh, is this your homeboy? I was like, yeah, that's my man. She was like, you want me to wake him up? I was like, nah. I said, y'all gonna be here? She was like, yeah. She was like, we'll take care of him, like that. And then so I was like, all right, bet. So I went back upstairs, danced a little more, you know what I'm saying, shaking it up, 2-step, whopped it out a few times. And I come back downstairs about 25 minutes later, and Fresh is sitting there by himself, and now he's awake, but the ladies are gone. And I was like, so I walked up, I was like, yo, man, what happened to the girls? And he's like, what girls? I was like, you ain't see them ladies here? And he was like, no, what do you mean? I said, bruh, you had 5 of the baddest dime pieces in here. I said, they were all sitting by you while you were asleep. And he was like, oh, for real? He's like, where'd they go? I was like, bruh, I need you to tell me where they went. He had no clue. So yeah, that's one of my favorite memories of Club SO, man. Shout out to Club SO. Club South Beach, I think that one wasn't in the city. That one I think was in Roswell, or at least off Roswell Road. And so I remember I've only been there once, and I'm never going again. It was a club that you go there, you eat dinner, and then they clear out, and then they clear out the chairs and stuff and the tables, and they open up the dance floor, and they had a stage. And I just remember the announcer saying, coming to the stage, you know him, he's got the hit record, recording artist, an Atlanta native, no, not native, he said Atlanta resident, Montel Jordan. And so people started going crazy. Oh man, yeah, Montel Jordan. I'm like, Montel Jordan, like, we gotta hear this dude, like he's about to let him perform. So Montel Jordan gets on stage, and this dude perform. And now you guys know he has the hit song, This Is How We Do It. Personally, I've never been a fan of the song, right? So it's whatever. But Montel Jordan proceeded to do and perform This Is How We Do It for 18 minutes straight. That song might be a 4-minute song, if that. But he did the remix. He asked people if they wanted to join him on stage. I was like, man, if you don't get your ass off that stage. Because it was like the concert, I can't call it a concert, but the performance preceded us getting on the dance floor. So I'm like, man, look, whatever energy that was in the room, for me, he took it out the room. I didn't need to hear This Is How We Do It. And I know you think I'm joking. I joke a lot. I'm not joking about him being on stage for 18 minutes. He was on stage that long, performing that song. And that's the only song that he performed. So yeah, I was never going back to South Beach. Vegas Nights was in Marietta. Man, we had some good nights at Vegas Nights, man. Shout out to my boy Hakeem. Man, what's my favorite Vegas Nights story? I just remember, man, we went to Vegas Nights one time, man, and me and Hakeem, and what was interesting was, like, Hakeem and I, our wives, or his ex-wife, but we went to school together. And so Sharice and I would go see them, and we would spend the night at their house. So me and Hakeem would go to Vegas nights, and then we party, and then we go home. So it wasn't like we were both married men. It wasn't like we were trying to pick up anything, man. But I just remember we stayed at Vegas. Vegas nights is probably the only club that I remember staying in until like the night was over. I mean, like not only was the night over, but the night was over, and the DJ was putting up the records, and the custodian was sweeping the floor, and we were still standing in there talking to people and laughing and having a good time. Vegas nights was, man, listen, Vegas nights is kind of like that Jeezy song. I remember nights. I don't remember nights, man. We were in Vegas nights quite a few times, and it was always a ball. Shout out to Club XS. Shout out to the Atrium, two very popular Atlanta places, but I never went in. The Atrium was like, and the Atrium is still there. It's where Ludacris shot the video for What's Your Fantasy. I've never been inside I think I've been inside the Atrium once, but it was on some business stuff, but it wasn't even on some club stuff. But the Atrium just seemed way too hood for me. Way too ghetto for me. I just couldn't do it. Next spot, the Warehouse. The Warehouse was Warehouse is over there by Magic City. I can't remember the name of that street, but I've only been to the Warehouse once. It's no longer here. Most of these clubs, I think Masquerade and Bulldogs are the only clubs that I've mentioned thus far that are still here. The rest of them, rest in peace. The Warehouse, my only memory from the Warehouse was walking around and some dude stepped on my Jordan. And I mean, like, he didn't even say, like, my bad. He just stepped on him and kept walking. I was like, bruh. And my joints was white. So, I wasn't. But that's my fault. You never wear never wear anything white to a club. But you definitely don't want to wear your best Jordans or your best sneakers to any club because your foot is going to get stepped on. Let's see. Tongue and Groove. Tongue and Groove may still be around. Tongue and Groove was one of those spots that was in Buckhead that survived. I probably should look it up. Tongue and Groove may still be in the paint. My only memory of Tongue and Groove being in there, I was in there one night and we were there to hear some poetry. And Chili from TLC was there. And that was the first time I saw her before. And man, she's beautiful. She listen, man. She is beautiful. That's about all I could say. I mean, like, and she was where we were standing. She was literally standing like 3 feet away. And she's a beautiful woman. Very beautiful. That's my only memory from Tongue and Groove. Club Kaya. Club Kaya used to be on Peachtree Street in Midtown. Kaya used to be jumping. My favorite memory of Kaya, Friday nights, it used to be Club Kaya. I remember seeing Ludacris perform and T.I. perform there, and this is before they had record deals. Ludacris, I think he did, if I'm not mistaken, he did Fat Rabbit there that night, which is one of my favorite Ludacris songs. And that was like before the record deal. And I think at the time his name was Tip. I don't even think he was going as T.I. He was T.I.P. I'm pretty sure he was T.I.P. then. He wasn't even Tip. He wasn't even T.I. But they both performed before they had record deals, so they were kind of underground. Well, Luda wasn't underground because at the time Luda was at the radio station, but he was bubbling. Club MJQ. Now, Club MJQ is still in the paint, it's still here, and it's still in the same spot. Club MJQ, man, it's this club. It's off of what's that street? Damn it, I can't remember the name of the street. And it takes you right into downtown. It'll come to me in a second. So maybe I'll have to look it up. MJQ was it was a spot that me and Jay Fresh used to go to all the time. And it was what's interesting is that when you walk in, you have to go down, and the club is literally and figuratively underground. Club MJQ, man, was a lot of fun for me. And what was interesting was like um, even when Club MJQ was really jumping, like I would go sometimes on house nights with Jay Fresh, and I would not even be interested in going. I wouldn't even be interested in the music. I would just be interested in just the vibe. Even when I went on house nights, and I'm not really that big a fan of house music. Jay Fresh is a house head. Um, oh, it looks like they moved MJQ. It used to be okay, so it's still here, but it's not on. It's on Lower Alabama Street. Okay, wow. So it moved. I didn't realize it moved. I can't remember the name of the street there. Ponce. It used to be off of Ponce. But yeah, you would go in and it was literally underground. So you had to walk down, and it was literally it looked like a bunker or something. But and it was always dark. Like it was one of those clubs that was pitch black dark. Like you had some lights and stuff from the stage, man, but there were times at MJQ, depending on who was working the lights, you could hold your hand up in front of your face and you couldn't see it. But it was always a good vibe. A couple more. Club Compound. Compound. I think Compound's still here. It's in West Midtown. My favorite club, Compound memory. My boy Zell was in town, and it was funny because I don't know who Zell knew or whatever, but Zell got us a little VIP section. So we're in a VIP section. We balling, they bringing bottles in and stuff, and we standing on couches, and the music is good. And for some reason, I don't know why, somebody had like a film projector, and so they were showing movies on like the wall of the club, this particular club section that we were in. And for some reason, somebody switched out the movies and put on a porno. I was like, yo, what? They're like, who's doing this? And that was interesting. And they let it run for about, 10, 15 minutes. But that night we were in the VIP section, and then the guy comes over. He's like, hey man, we're gonna have to ask y'all to leave. Yeah, well, you don't have to leave the club, but you're gonna have to leave the VIP. It was like, for what? It was like, man, we here, we been here. What happened? And he was like, well, we got some other people coming in, and we want to accommodate them. And so Zell was like, yo, I'm here. Like, who you have coming in that's gonna get us out of here? And he's like, well, JD and Janet are coming. Okay. JD, Jermaine Dupri, and Janet Jackson were coming, and they needed our VIP section. And so we got kicked out of VIP for Jermaine Dupri and Janet Jackson. And this was during the time that Janet and Jermaine were dating. I'm not a fan of Jermaine Dupri. I really wasn't a fan of Jermaine Dupri after that night. And plus he stole my girl. So, but yeah, shout out to Jermaine Dupri and Janet Jackson. Let's see. Tabernacle. The Tabernacle is still there. It's been a couple of things. At one point in time, it's called the House of Blues. It's right downtown, right across from what is now if you see pictures of downtown Atlanta, you see this big Ferris wheel is right behind there. Man, we used to have some good time. My favorite memory from the Tabernacle, obviously, if you follow me, you know that that's where they shot the Skewed on the Barbie video for Outkast and Wu-Tang, well, Raekwon. And I was there. I was right there in the front with it. Because what happened was Outkast was doing an interview on, I think it was Hot 97 at the time. And they said, yeah, we're shooting a video today. All of Atlanta should come down. It's at the Tabernacle. So I was like, all right, bet. And I got down there dumb early. And one of the first people in line. So me and a couple of homies, we were in the front. And what's weird is when you watch the video, you can't see us. I don't know what happened, but you can't see us. But we were in the front to the left of the stage. But yeah, that's my favorite Tabernacle memory. Club 112, the aforementioned 112. There's a lot of stories I could tell you about Club 112. Probably my favorite story involves my boy D Love Hall. I can't tell that story. Nothing crazy, but I can't tell that story on here. But 112 was the first club that I went to with Sharice. We went to college together, so we were college sweethearts. So us, partying together was always, that's what we did. But what was interesting was like I had moved here, and when we were in college, like normally what would happen is like I would go to the club, she would come to the club, I would go by myself. Well, I would go with my friends, she would go with her friends, and then we'd link up at the club, and then she'd leave with me. But this was the first time that we actually went to a club together. Like it was no you going with your friends and we meet there. Because I think at this time we were still dating, but about to get, well, no, we weren't about to get married because she was still in school at the time. But she came to the A one weekend and we went to 112. And I'll be honest, that whole night, it was just weird. I can't tell you why. It was just weird because like, and we were doing what we normally do, laughing and joking at people and stuff. But when we first got there, it was really, really weird because it was like, I'm not used to you being, and then she was, sitting with me and we were talking and stuff. And it was just like, I don't know. It was just weird because we had never gone to a club together, but that was the first club that we went to. So I figure I could tell y'all that story. I can't tell y'all that. I'll tell you the D Love Hall story off air. Let's see. Club Django. Club Django used to be on Peachtree Street, right where just a few feet down from where the Shark Bar used to be. I'll say this: I have a friend who went. He didn't go with me, but he went to Club Django, and I saw him that particular night. And he was there with his wife. He got extremely intoxicated, and for a brief second he lost his mind because there was a woman that was walking by, and he just started grinding on the woman. He just started dancing on her. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem was his wife was there. Like he was acting as if like his wife wasn't there. And he did that a couple of times with women that walked past, and one woman just started grinding on him. And so his wife is on the other side of the club and she's watching all of this. And again, he's intoxicated. He don't know no better. Well, he should know better. And she pulled him back to where she was, and they were off in this little section of the club where very few people could see. And I could see it from a distance. I couldn't hear it, but she was cussing him out. And the next thing I know, she slapped the shit out of him. And he deserved it. And that's my favorite memory of Club Django. Club Django always was jumping, man. Shout out to homie DJ Skills. I used to go hear him spin all the time. DJ Skills and I from the same hometown. That's the homie right there. So DJ Skills. I mean, all of these clubs had great DJs, by the way. Lastly, but not least, Funk Jazz Cafe. Now, Funk Jazz Cafe was it wasn't a club. It was an event that they would have at the aforementioned Tabernacle. And so what they would do is like, just imagine a bunch of people who probably listen to a lot of Andre 3000 and Erykah Badu music in this huge place, 3 floors. It cost like, I think it was like $20 with $10 with a canned good. And so like on different levels, like you had like poetry reading, you had spoken word, you had what my boy used to call sunflower chicks. Like my boys tell me I used to love go to Funk Jazz because of the earthy chicks. Now, according to my friends, I'm into earthy chicks, or used to be into earthy chicks. I don't know what that means, but let them tell it. I love earth, even though my wife is nothing like an earthy chick. So, but yeah, that Funk Jazz Cafe was really, really dope. I met some really cool people there. Great memories there as well. So there you have it. Old Atlanta. Atlanta ain't what it is. It ain't, and Atlanta really isn't what you see on TV. It's not what you hear in the music. Atlanta is a lot of things. And a lot of what Atlanta is today has spawned from old Atlanta. And I can only go back to 1997, and I can go back to Freaknik 94. If you didn't hear the Freaknik episode, go back and listen to it. It is phenomenal. One of my favorite episodes that I listen to at least like once a month. But yeah, Atlanta, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For me, it's home, and it's always going to be home. and it's a place where I feel like I've grown, and it's my city, and I love it. And I've got some great memories here, and I was just glad to share a few of them with you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We do this thing every Thursday at midnight. And from time to time, we drop bonus episodes on Sundays at midnight. We also have a new baby. It's called the Rap Soul Podcast. You can find that podcast wherever you're listening or watching this podcast as well. That is a hip hop and rap. No, I'm sorry. It's not a hip hop. It is a music podcast. I'm getting tongue tied here. My bad. It is a music podcast where we talk about music from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to rap, soul, hip hop, and R&B. It's the best music podcast that you've never heard, so you should definitely check it out. We're on social media at 12 Kyle, at 12 Kyle Podcast, on Twitter X, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, you name it, we're everywhere. If you want to support this podcast financially, hit us up, Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Also, you can buy merch. We have 12 Kyle podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. Again, want to thank you all for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Do me a favor, share it with a friend. Particularly friends that are from or have been to Atlanta. I think most people would get a kick out of this, but I wanted to come on here and talk about old Atlanta. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy 12 Kyle, and I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000. Cheer.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.